Hi, I'm Brian Lilly in Ottawa, in behind the Supreme Court buildings, and right behind me there, that's the Ottawa River, one of the great rivers of Canada. Behind that, maybe you can see off in the distance past the bridge and some of the buildings there, those are the Gatineau Hills. Some of the most beautiful, pristine countryside you're ever going to see in all of Canada. Why do I bring this up? Because it's right outside the doors of Parliament. It's not far, and yet we've got MPs, on the progressive side of the House at least, who sneer at issues related to fishing, which you can still do in the Ottawa River, and hunting, which you can do in the Quebec wilderness. It's funny, if you talk to a lot in the media party or the commentariat, they'll tell you that Quebecers, they're not into those things. But as someone that vacations in real Quebec, that goes and visits real Quebec, there's three things that you must have when you live outside of Montreal. That's an ATV, a boat, and a shotgun to go hunting. So it was a bit shocking on Monday when the NDP, which is essentially a Quebec-based party these days, got up, François Choquette from Drummondville area and Megan Leslie, who's a New Democrat from Halifax in Nova Scotia. They got up to sneer at the idea that the Environment Committee was going to be studying hunting and fishing.
In a good faith attempt to study the fundamental issues of concern for Canadians, New Democrats have submitted over a dozen motions to committee. A few examples: these motions cover a federal price on carbon, the polluter pay principle, the impact of climate change on our infrastructure, and many other climate-related motions. But tomorrow, we begin a study on licensed hunting and trapping.
They're not the first progressive MPs to do this. John McKay, a Liberal, was standing in the House back on February 26, doing the exact same thing during a debate that wasn't even related to any of this.
The Environment Committee is now engaged in a study on hunting and trapping. Of all of the issues the Environment Committee could be studying, the climate change, fracking, or whatever, hunting and trapping is the one that's been chosen. It's of critical interest to us all.
Now, I haven't talked to John McKay about this. He should know better, but he's a Toronto Liberal MP. He represents Scarborough. He doesn't get out maybe as much as he should. But Mr. Choquette and Ms. Leslie both come from areas where hunting is part of the way of life. So why would they be so upset at the Environment Committee studying hunting? I put that question to her.
I mean, I'm going to learn a lot from this study. There's no doubt about that. But we actually have an Environment Committee for the House of Commons that has not looked at the impact of climate change on hunting and trapping, for example, or looked at the impact of climate change on our critical infrastructure.
I hope that she does learn lots of things, including the fact that despite what she and her Greenpeace friends sipping on the latte down at the independent coffee shop will say, that hunters, fishermen, trappers, these are the original environmentalists. Why? Because if the water's polluted, you can't go fishing. If there's no habitat for the animals, you can't go hunting. And so unlike those that say support the Sierra Club or Greenpeace, hunters, fishermen, trappers, they actually put their own money up. They put their own money up, their own hard-earned dollars to support protecting wildlife, protecting wetlands, protecting streams and rivers, protecting the natural habitat that the deer and the moose and the quail and the ducks all use. Why? Because they know that without doing that, there may not be a place to go hunting in the future. And yet Megan Leslie, François Choquette, John McKay, they're just going to look at this and go, hunting, why don't we talk about climate change? Let me remind you what the Environment Commissioner said back when they issued a report shortly after the Liberals lost power. It is around 2007. A report came out saying that the Liberals, who had been in power for years and kept talking about climate change, well, according to the Environment Commissioner, they made grand pronouncements that were forgotten about before confetti hit the floor. That's it. Talk a good game about climate change, but do nothing. So the Environment Committee, and this, I'll admit it's being led by Conservatives, they want to study hunting. Like I said, hunters, fishermen, trappers, these are the original conservationists, the original environmentalists. And they're not just going to protest and sign a petition and talk a good game. They're actually putting their own money, time, and effort behind it. I think Miss Leslie, Mr. Choquette, Mr. McKay, I think they deserve or should be giving the respect to these people that they deserve rather than staring down their urban elitist noses at them.